plenty of football to be played, and Benfica proved at times, particularly during that second half, Lisa, that they had something to offer. But was it more a case of Liverpool taking their eye off the ball in the fact that they came out with the attitude a little bit complacent at the start of that second half?
Yeah, I think it was a funny game because Liverpool just didn't look like Liverpool. They looked a little bit sloppy at times, but Benfica are a team that have massive belief in what they do and how they play, and they would have come into this game knowing that they wouldn't have got many chances. But you get one chance and you get a goal, it can keep you in the game. And that's exactly what the manager would have said to them at half-time. And they got the early goal at the start of the second half. And it gave them belief, and the crowd then get involved. And it makes it difficult for Liverpool. But I think, the scoreline for Liverpool is massive going back into next week. For Benfica, there's not many teams will go to Anfield and score 3 goals. And that's the difference between having to score 2 and having to score 3. That's the difference that goal makes.
Yeah, but if we look at this performance, Richie, in the context of what's to come for Liverpool, both in the Premier League, the FA Cup, and again, the Champions League, and the threat that Manchester City pose in the background, we'll talk a little bit about that later on. How do you think that second half performance will affect Liverpool's confidence?
I don't think it will. Like, I watched them on Saturday against Watford. None of the players can say they were at top gear. None of the fans can say it's the best that they can play or that they've seen them play. But they won the game and kept a clean sheet and got the 3 points. I think tonight, they'll have a very pragmatic view of this tonight. It's no suspensions, no injuries that we're aware of, and a 2-goal lead going into a second leg game at home in Anfield in a week's time. In any circumstances, like I think this is a sign of just the standards that Liverpool have generally set and specifically set in the first half. We're kind of sitting here, and the instinct is to criticise them a little bit, going, oh, what was all the sloppiness about the start of the second half in particular? Where was the intensity? Where was the rhythm? And they weren't as relentless in the second half. It is very difficult to dominate a game the way Liverpool did in that first half for 45 minutes. It's virtually impossible to reach that level and sustain it for 90 minutes, particularly in a away leg in a quarter-final of a Champions League. So, yes, aspects of the performance, they'll go, like, we're not going to win the quadruple. We won't win anything if the first 20 minutes of the second half is how we play from here on in. Yeah. But that's, you don't do that in a dressing room. No, but you sit there and go, we had 3 goals, 6, maybe 8 really good goal-scoring chances, and Benfica, how many chances did they create? Really good ones. You think where it really mattered, they were on top. So it's a strong position to be in. But yes, loads of the second half, they'll sit there and go, that's not us, and we can't set this standard going forward. Yeah,
and of course it was a mistake that allowed Benfica in for their goal.
It was. Like, Liverpool didn't start with the intensity of the second half that they showed in the first. I mean, this ball does find its target. It's an odd ball to play, but the difference between this and the first half, when Liverpool gave it away, they immediately seemed to win it back, and they didn't do so here. This is not a great ball by Rafa Silva. It's straight to Konate. Like, you want to miss the defender, you want to find your striker. He didn't do that here. Inexplicably, Konate there just lets it roll through his legs. He just gets his feet all mixed up. That's really, really basic. So it's a howler of an error from the defender, which created the opportunity, which Nunez took really, really well. But it's that wasn't down to Benfica's brilliance. It was just sloppiness from one player in particular.
Yeah, but a lovely composed finish. And we saw the qualities that are possibly attracting a lot of interest from other teams in Europe at the moment of Darwin Nunez, Lisa.
Yeah, I think in the first half, I thought he ended up in parts of the pitch where he wasn't causing Liverpool problems. He's out wide, and he can do this stuff. He can play the channels. He can take players on. He's 6'2", but he has got really good feet, and he's actually deceptively quick. But he was in these wide areas, and when he was on the ball, he was miles away from the Liverpool goal. And that was the difference. In the second half, he was much more central. He was receiving the ball much closer to goal in much more dangerous areas, and it meant that he was able to impact on the game much better. And that's the type of player that he is. He's the type of player you want on the end of the crosses as opposed to crossing them. This one here, and again, looking back at the goal, I actually think he's really clever, because when that ball breaks down the channel, Liverpool have 3v1 inside. And he peels his run to the back post and creates a 1v1. That's numbers in his favour. And even though you know, it's really, really poor defending. But he's in a really good position, and he's given him, if that ball even gets clipped over, he's on his own. So I think he's a really intelligent player. I love his movement, and I think in the second half, he was playing much closer to Liverpool's goal, and that was a big difference for Benfica.
He was, and he was involved in another very significant moment in that second half, which we'll have a look at shortly. But first of all, Richie, we're going to take a look at what I suppose can be termed some uncharacteristically poor finishing from Mo Salah and some uncharacteristic sloppiness from Liverpool.
I think you're right to use that word, uncharacteristic, because we're not used to seeing them give the ball away cheaply. Salah did have an off night. He hasn't been in the greatest of form in the last few games. We said at half-time we weren't surprised to see him if he was to be taken off in the second half. It just didn't click. Previous moments in this season, we've seen him kind of run around defenders, even in tight areas. Van Dijk taking a swing there. Virtually never see him do this. And then the ball here, which should be a straightforward one from Jota into a teammate, is kicked off the pitch. So They made hard work of it, and they unnecessarily gave Benfica a belief that they maybe really weren't entitled to, given the difference in standard. And here again, towards the end, Robertson kicks it off the pitch. So sloppy elements in the second half. I don't want to give them the free pass, because that's not the level that's going to help them to achieve any of their aims. But over the 90 minutes, they were by a distance the better team. OK, but at 2-1, there was, well, I think what some people here in studio felt was a significant moment. It involved Nunez once again. He was through on goal. Van Dijk came over. Was he impeded by the Liverpool defender? Should a penalty have been awarded?
Well, it depends on what rose-tinted glasses you're wearing. I think if you're a Liverpool fan, you're absolutely saying there's no way that's a penalty. If you're a Benfica fan, you're saying, listen, there's contact there. Has he impeded him from moving forward? So as you see here, he cuts back inside, and to come back towards the ball, he's held for a little split second there. It's really, really clever. Really, really clever. It's good defending. But if you're the centre forward there, you're absolutely howling for the penalty.
And Richie, we do, before you make your point, we do hear the term used all the time that as soon as a player feels contact, he goes down. Now, maybe Nunez shouldn't have gone down. He should have tried to stay on his feet, and maybe the referee might have considered something then. But what was your view of that incident?
I think, well, I'm a fan of neither team, so I'm not sitting here with any tinted glasses in any direction. I don't think that it didn't look as if the degree of contact was strong enough to use the terms you used. The referee obviously saw it in some way from whatever view he has. We'll see him here in a moment, the angle that he saw it from. Obviously, he's the video assistant referees watching it as well. I don't believe that should have been a penalty kick. It was.
But why do you think Nunez went down? Do you think he was purely thinking, I felt some sort of contact?
Well, I think first of all, like you can see, the ball is no longer under control, really, because
But if he hadn't gone down, had he lost the ball in your view? Yeah.
Well, I think to answer your question, why do players go down when they feel contact? It's exactly what you said, because there's almost a few years ago we'd criticise people for going down on the slightest touch. We're now almost at the other end of the spectrum, where we say they're naive and kind of they're not streetwise enough if they don't go down, because particularly with VAR now, the degree of contact will often go in your favour and you'll get the decisions, but I just don't think that was strong enough. I don't think that was enough contact.
It wasn't strong enough.
If that was a Premier League game, would the referee have gone to VAR?
For him to go down for a penalty.
Yeah.
It wasn't strong enough contact for him to go down.
You can see why he'd go down.
But does Van Dijk impede him by using his arm for a split second to get away and get on that ball the way it breaks? He does. So it's really good defending. It's smart defending.
But I suppose the other question that has to be asked is, had he lost control of the ball even at that point? Or does that make no difference?
Well, the ball breaks inside, and it's the way he's facing. So the breaking ball is actually in Nunez's favour there. It's not in Van Dijk's favour.
It's not in Van Dijk's favour. But they didn't get the penalty, and so it went. And then Liverpool went and got that third goal. So, I mean, this goal, it really does wrap up the tie for them, doesn't it?
Oh, it's a huge goal. Massive, massive goal. And it comes at a really good time as well, just right at the end of the game. the break from and Keita's ball. His vision is really good. I know it takes a little deflection, but that's a really cool and composed finish from Diaz. You can see there he's right up on the shoulder of the defender, times that run brilliantly. And again, he's such an intelligent player. No, and I think the keeper, to be fair to him, he's come too far. If you're coming that far, you've got to be able to collect the ball or at least get some sort of contact. But it's a brilliant finish, a brilliantly timed run. And we talk about those little margins. That deflection just puts it right into his path. But it's a huge goal for Liverpool because, like I said, it's different going 2-1 into the second leg. 3-1 makes it much, much bigger task for Benfica, and it just gives Liverpool that extra little bit of comfort.
Yeah, so I suppose, Richie, would we expect to see further rotation from Jurgen Klopp? I mean, given the fact that they've a massive game before that Benfica second leg.
I think every game from now on in, I'd be amazed if there's any run of games where the same 11 players start. It would astonish me because I think, as Dara said in commentary, they've a gap now. The longest gap they're going to have in a while till Sunday's game, and then 5 games in 14 days or something. Like, you can't play the same strike force in every game. Like, you just can't and expect them to be sharp in that level of game, that amount of games in that time. So the use of the squad, as we said at the start, is going to be crucial. He's going to be intelligent, and he's going to be privy to info that we don't have. Like, who's sharp, who's carrying knocks, who's looking a bit sluggish, who might be talking up quadruples too much in the training. You make all those little decisions from the things you observe from the squad, and the luxury he has them all fit. They're all fully fit and available, and there's quality everywhere. It's not like some squads where you go to player 13, 14, 15 in your squad and there's a big dip.
Yeah.
There's 5 or 6 players that could come into the team and keep the same quality.
But finally, just before we leave, because we did mention it earlier on in the programme, and that was Mo Salah's current dip in form, you'd have to say. So, I mean, to achieve a quadruple, you want your best players in top form. It's clear at the moment that he's not on top form, because a lot of those chances that he spurned tonight, on his better days, they'd be taken.
Absolutely, but it's a bigger problem for Liverpool if Mo Salah is not scoring and Liverpool are not scoring. But Liverpool are still scoring goals. So, and that's the beauty of having the depth in the squad that they have, that they can rotate players. They've got players who ask different questions of their opposition. There's players with different skill sets that they can bring just different things. They can change up games. And listen, Mo Salah is one of the best players in the world. A slight dip in form is not going to be the end of the world, because I've no doubt he'll find his form and it won't be long before he's banging in goals again.
Yep, he's likely to rediscover it very quickly indeed. Well,